So today I would like to welcome Ayiesha Wright. She's a good friend who I think has an amazing story that I would like for her to share with you. And about her life, her obstacles and rejections and struggles, and how she's still been able to come on top and handle her business. So, Aisha, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Ruth. So, like Ruth mentioned, my name is Aisha. To start, to let you know a little bit about myself, I am from the Bronx, born and raised. I started off, pretty much the typical Bronx story in the Gun Hill area of the Bronx. My parents are immigrants. They're both from Jamaica. So it was interesting how we grew up and seeing them transition to where they are now, which is what I believe was, a large push for me as well, to see them, how they moved and how things happened for them to where I am now today as, 33-year-old Aisha. So it's been a journey, and I'd love to share where I am now and what led to my entrepreneurship. Start with pretty much where I am now in life. Right now, I'm in a position where I am starting up my own companies in order to solidify myself as an income, to solidify an income for myself. So where this all started, I guess, would go back to formal education, where I thought I wanted to be a dentist. That was what I went to school for. That's what I believed I wanted to do. And that didn't work out. From there, I decided that phlebotomy would be something that I would want to get into, to be in the medical field, to see how I would like it. So phlebotomy is drawing blood. Okay. My first job drawing blood was for a company where I traveled home to home, which, proved to be a bit difficult. Everybody has to start somewhere. That was my first phlebotomy position, drawing blood. I loved it. After that, I started to work for the New York Blood Center. So at this point, I'm taking blood for donations. So this is also working into being in the medical field and doing something professional, which I thought would be my career.
And this was a 9-to-5 job, sort of say?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was given a schedule, of course. I mean, the schedule varied when it came to the New York Blood Center. So we're working for a company, a large company. So basically where they needed me is where I would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during this time, at any point, did you think like, oh, I'm gonna start my own thing, I'm gonna do investments, I'm gonna start my own business? At this point in your life, did that ever come across?
No.
Okay.
Those weren't even ideas. I was prepared to work for a company and retire from that company. So after the New York Blood Center, I decided I need a better schedule. I need to be in a facility. So a hospital was my next choice, to be a phlebotomist inside of a hospital where I would be able to move around and, the American dream, move up within the company,
yeah.
Continue to work, continue to get my education, and also knowing that they would pay for my education to move forward. I had all of these career paths planned out for working in a hospital setting. However, that didn't work out. So I did end up losing my job working in the hospital, which was my dream job, to be in a hospital taking blood, work from there, and become management at this hospital. They let me go with short notice, no notice whatsoever. And
did they tell you why they let you go at all? Like their reasons behind it?
Yes, they did have, what I don't think was a good reason, that I wasn't fitting in, which whatever that meant. I don't think it was fair. But it's something I had to deal with, and I had to, kind of strap up my boots and move forward. And I'm not saying that it was an easy loss to take. It wasn't.
Because this was a job that you envisioned yourself. It was your future, basically. You envisioned, I could be in this hospital. I could, this could be a steady job for me.
This is my lifelong career.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And what events led up to them making this decision to let you go? Because I don't think so. For instance, you started at this job, and then what happened? How did you how was it working there? Do you feel that you was good? Did you get good reviews from your customers, the clients coming through?
Yeah. So that's the interesting part about this being let go, was that I swore that I was the best. You know, I swore that I was doing my best. I actually became pregnant, but I chose to keep that to myself. It's my choice, it's my body, and I didn't think it was important to tell them that I was with child just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that me as a mother and other mothers can also relate. Even when you get pregnant, you don't immediately tell everybody because it's like
your choice.
Exactly. So we completely understand.
So I did make the choice to not divulge that information that I was pregnant. When it did get out that I was pregnant, I was let go. I seem to have been, doing my job on my part. I didn't get complaints. I didn't have any formal write-ups. So I know that there was something not so right about me being discharged. I knew that.
And how long from the time that the employer knew that you was pregnant to the time that they called you into the office?
That was a 2-day span. So
so if that's not obvious enough.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So, it's hard to make people understand, because what can you say? You don't work for that hospital anymore? What happened? I got fired. Why'd you get fired? No reason. No one's gonna believe you.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just where I was, and I got let go, and it was devastating because I was at the time 5 months pregnant, and I'm worrying about the future of my unborn child because I was keeping my child. I wasn't going to not keep my child to keep this career at any point, because I had started maybe 5 months before. So I can't assume, but I have a feeling that they didn't want to be bothered with me and my pregnancy after only being there for 5 months, which is wrong. Us as women doesn't mean we're not hard workers because we're pregnant.
Yeah.
So I was working very hard. I was getting there for 5 a.m. That was my shift, 5 to 1. And I remember feeling my son jiggling around in my stomach as I'm like rushing at 4:58 to clock in for 5 a.m. So, I was sacrificing a lot of myself, and I can't say it didn't pay off, because everything you do has a purpose. Everything that you go through, even if it doesn't feel good, it's going to serve you a purpose.
Yes,
so
there's a reason why things happen.
Yeah.
And there's a reason too why we're here today as well. For you to getting this opportunity and putting your story out there, because I think that many women can actually relate, especially being pregnant in the workplace, or even mothers who are breastfeeding and can't breastfeed in the workplace.
Yes.
And you understand? So this is big, and I thank you so much for bringing it out, and because I know it's tough. I know that when you're going through that, it's tough to even speak about it.
It is.
So you're very strong for actually taking the time and sharing your story, because it's a story that other women can also relate.
Yeah.
So now going back to your story. So they let you go, and then what did you do?
After I was let go, the initial reaction is heartbreak hotel. I'm like in shambles. I didn't want to do an application. I didn't want to apply for another job 5 months pregnant. And I'm discussing it with people, like, how am I going to cover this up? I'm talking to my mom. I'm talking to my mother-in-law. How am I going to go on an interview?
Because of course now no employer, knowing you're pregnant, a lot pregnant now, they're not going to want to hire you.
It should be illegal to walk in pregnant to an interview. So,
exactly.
I'm 5 months pregnant, and I haven't named my child yet or anything. So it's just, it was a big loop. It threw me for a big loop. But it was the changing point for me. I did go ahead and apply for jobs eventually, and I went on an interview, and it's kind of like PTSD because after when I did go on the interview, I didn't get the job, and I don't know why I didn't get the job, but that tore me down, and once again it became difficult again to go out and do an application or sign up for an interview, at that time. So I kind of let it go. I was able to get unemployment. This is in 2018. So this is pre-pandemic. I'm on unemployment after I swore that I was just doing all the right stuff.
Yeah.
After my son was born is actually when the pandemic did come into play. So he was a pandemic baby. He was born right before everything got a little crazy. At that time, I said to myself, I'm definitely not going outside.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere. What am I going to do to get some money? So I picked up a pandemic hobby, and I started to do resin, which is something like a hobby that I found on, TikTok, one of those social medias.
Explain to us what that is.
Okay, so basically with resin, it's a wide variety of things that you can do with resin. So you can either make coasters, there's so many things you can make with it. For me personally, I started making coasters. Also, I can make cutting boards. That was one of my favorite things to do, was make cutting boards. Other decorative pieces coming together, like little teddy bears for kids, little jewelry boxes and trays. And with that, I was able to be creative, touch another side of myself that I've never tapped into. I started to paint, and all of these things that I made, I started to sell. I would do custom orders and things like that. So with that being said, when I did start to do my resin, I realized this is a supplemental income. This is not a full-time income just yet. And that's the important part to know. For me, it was the important part to know was that every business is going to take development. You're not going to start off and just shoot for the stars. And if you do,
hooray for you,
right? Round of applause
exactly.
if you do. But it did not skyrocket, and of course that had a lot to do with me. I was doing my projects and busy doing this and wanting to do that, and it did make me it was a good supplement, which is something I still enjoy doing, is resin. But it was a supplement, and I would like to solidify myself into a full-time income as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So the next step that I came into, after that, you're deciding, I'm not working in another company to get shot down again.
Yeah, especially now you're, doing your thing. And I think, even for me and in my situation, at that point you're like, to go back to a 9-to-5 job when now I'm like, I could do this.
Yeah, and it's not, 9 to 5 is amazing. And retiring from a company is something to be proud of, So for those that do that, it's great. Mm-hmm. But once you've been burnt or hurt, or it's not that we're doing this out of hurt, but it is what led.
It's harder to go back.
Yeah, it's harder. It's harder when you realize maybe I can do something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you was doing this for almost like a hobby, and you was taking orders, and you saw, okay, I could do this.
Yes.
And then at what point did you feel that okay, I need to step it up, do something else? And what did you think was that something else?
So with the resin, my projects, I realized that it was, wasn't moving the way that I expected it to. So, and it did take a lot of hard work to do each project. And there were ups and downs of, this didn't come out right. This isn't sellable. You have to do this over. You're doing something wrong. The first couple of times you do it and you're like, this is fabulous, it's perfect. Then you hit that hiccup where you're like, nothing's coming out right. So, in that respect, there's ups and downs. After that, I pretty much told myself that I would have to do multiple things in order to make up for where I wanted to have my income. So I did a Google search. Why not? Let's do a Google search. What's popular right now that everyone wants, that everyone likes? And the first thing that came up in my research is teeth whitening. People love it. It's getting big. This summertime's coming. Everyone wants their teeth whitening, and also tooth gems is something that's in. I should have some in right now because I just love them.
I actually saw it on your page, and I'm like,
it's
what's going on? It's very interesting, actually.
So it seems to be something really new.
Okay.
I don't know what crowd we can say, because I love them and so do like 20-year-old kids.
Yes.
So, it's a big audience, but so teeth whitening was the main thing. But then when I found out about tooth gems as well, I'm like, I would like to offer that service.
So I gotta ask you about the tooth gem. So how is it exactly that you install it on the tooth?
So the tooth gems, there's no drilling.
Okay.
It's not painful. It's really superficial. So basically you start off with prepping the tooth superficially, no drilling whatsoever. You prep the tooth and then you add like an adhesive as if you were getting braces.
Okay.
So someone that has had braces would be able to tell you, this is how the dentist got them on me. It's the same process as if you were to get braces.
Okay.
So an adhesive is put there, the gem is placed, and then it's cured onto your tooth. So it's temporary, but it can also last very long.
Up to how long, more or less?
So I have a friend that I did 2 months ago, and it's not budging.
Okay.
But then I have my nephew who his fell off in a week.
Oh wow.
So it depends on the care.
Yeah, and the person. Okay.
Yes, but it is finally something I can smile about. I like doing it. I like whitening teeth. I like throwing some gems on somebody really quick, and the satisfaction that you get from your customer. Now, I have been practicing that for a couple of months. Okay. So I'm also still in a position of making it, more solid as I go along. So there's still stuff I have to do to make it more of a business format to get my clientele, but it's interesting. I'm happy with it, and I'm in control.
Yeah. And it's your baby right now.
Yes.
So you have to nurture it and dedicate the time and effort.
Exactly.
It's a new business. And I think that's, for a new business that you have to put in the work. Exactly. You really do. But who would have thought, did you think that after being into phlebotomy, right? Initially you said that you wanted to go to school to be a dentist.
Yes, I did.
And now you're back.
I'm back to teeth.
Okay.
I'm all the way back to teeth.
So for some reason it came
full circle, and you gotta respect it. When it comes full circle, you gotta say this is correct.
Exactly.
This isn't a mistake. So I am full circle. The universe put it in my way, and I'm taking it. And I'm, I don't know what's next.
Okay.
So I would love to just focus here and develop and grow in this.
Okay. And so now you started this new business, the teeth whitening business. I know that you work out of a salon as well, and I'll put the details in the description so that everybody can have your information. And with that, you're also a mommy. Yes. So how do you manage your new career, your new business, and still dedicate the time to your family?
Yeah. It's, a matter of prioritizing, and, the flexibility of starting your own business is that I choose which time I work. I make a schedule, and, grateful for the support that I do have. My husband is awesome as far as splitting up the time that he is taking care of our son and the time that I'm taking care of our son, and just making it all work, So, of course, I miss him when I'm not with him every minute, but if I have to get something done, it has to be done. So, split up the time where I'm saying, today I'm going to work on Monday, but tomorrow's Tuesday, and I have to make that time for Aston, my son Aston. I have to be with Aston on Tuesday. all day long because yesterday I wasn't. So it's just like a flip-flop of, you know, making things work and, you know, compartmentalizing. This is important, I have to go.
Okay.
You know, or vice versa. This isn't as important and I need to stay with my son. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So with, you know, so how do you feel today in terms of, you know, you're an entrepreneur, you started your own business, you know, you have your family, and how do you feel about what happened to you with the hospital and that job that you had that you thought it was almost like your future?
Yeah, I mean, I did have career paths written down. I had a solid plan. As soon as I was eligible, I was going to get into the next semester so that I can stay in this company. So I had big plans there. So it hasn't been easy emotionally. It has been tough. It's even hard to talk about to this day, and it's been over 2 years. So it's just a matter of pushing through, which is easier said than done.
Definitely.
Super easier said than done. You know, there's gonna be days I might cry about it, but there's also the days where I say, I'm not gonna cry today. I'm gonna wake up and I decided to be happy. I decided to go ahead and do what was needed immediately. And also something interesting that fell into it was that I was able to financially hold myself down because I used tactics that I was hearing about. So for example, Sean and his friends were selling houses. And I came and I thought about it and I'm like, okay, I'm not a real estate agent.
Sean, by the way, he's my husband.
That's her husband.
Yes.
Good guy. So Sean actually introduced the idea of wholesaling to me, which is another thing interesting because you kind of have your hand in different pots.
And wholesaling, why don't you explain the concept a little bit about wholesaling, because some people might not know about wholesaling.
Right, and I would be honest, if I heard about wholesaling from the internet, I might not have paid attention. But Sean is a friend and he explained it to where I got it. I understood. So it is good to give those videos a chance and give, you know, what someone is saying a chance, because wholesaling is pretty big right now.
It is.
And it sounds like it's not for me. It does. Initially, it sounded like something that I couldn't do.
Yeah, and wholesaling pretty much is, so in the real estate industry, let's say you have a house to sell, and I'm the wholesaler, and I say, hey, you have this house, you want $300,000.
Yes.
I want to buy this house from you. And now, me as a wholesaler, I really don't have that money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this guy that I know who has the money, and I'm going to pitch it to him, and I'm going to say, hey, you want this house for $340,000?
Right.
And so he says, yeah, I want it. So then I say, okay, so I'm going to pay you $300. He's gonna pay me $340, and we close the deal.
Yes.
So that's kind of
the
like
difference
the
is yours.
Exactly.
So it does sound easy when you say it that way, and I did approach it differently. So when I did find out that wholesaling was a thing, I had a family member that was selling their house. The family member said, I'd like to sell my house for $620,000. This is my base. This is what I want. And I said, okay, if I get you $650,000 for your home, would the difference be mine? Of course it'd be yours, because I'm only asking for $620. You go out there and you pitch your $650, the difference is yours, sweetheart, you know? And in the end, we ended up getting even more than we expected. We superseded that. So, you know, being the person that I am, I'm going to stick to the initial agreement that we had. You know, I'm not going to sit here and scrape up every dime extra that I got you. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I just want to say that from the beginning of it, I had to make sure this person took me seriously. I had to make sure that I had a contract in place. I had to make sure that I represented myself professionally at all times throughout, because it doesn't sound like the best or most straightforward idea. Because I'm not a real estate agent, I don't have a license. But if you step in as a liaison, this is a completely legal
transaction, exactly. And in this case, you were a wholesaler.
Right. In this case, I did a wholesale, transaction. So that was something that I listened to and, jumped on an opportunity about. So that's what I feel like is pushing me, is just jumping on opportunities now. Yeah.
Okay, so what motivates you? What is the biggest motivation that
my
you...
son.
Okay.
My biggest motivation has been my son. I'm not going to say I was lazy before him, because I wasn't lazy, but I was comfortable with certain things, and now I'm not comfortable much.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with just having. I want so much for him that it does push me way more, and I can only say that it's been him.
Okay. And what would you say are certain things that you live by?
I live by being happy. I live by having, a resolution for my problems instead of trying to make more problems out of my problems. Focusing on what is going to make it better. You know what I'm saying? So, you're given, you're dealt these cards, but what adjustments can I make? Even if it takes forever, it's going to take a while, but what can I do to make it better? And that is absolutely what I live by, is finding your resolution.
Okay. And what would you recommend to a woman who's out there and maybe struggling, or maybe dealing with a certain failure or rejection in her life? What would you recommend to her as for her to be able to move forward?
To move forward, it depends on everyone's situation. Everyone is different, and I can't say I have the perfect formula, but pretty much just keep your head up. Keep your head up. Keep your head up, because every one of us is worth it. You're worth trying harder. You're worth going to find out the information. You're worth going out and talking to somebody that you've never spoken to. So that, in my personal opinion, it's kind of putting that to the side and starting brand new, every day. That's pretty much it. Just, I like I said, it's going to take some drive. It's going to take a lot of, self-work. You have to look at yourself. You have to look within. What am I doing to make it better? And what am I going to do every day to make it a little bit better? So I guess I would say that.
That's awesome. That is a good advice. Definitely keep your head up.
Yeah.
Because, that's all you could do, especially when you're going through a certain rejection or obstacle. And, for those of us who have been there, we know, and it's hard. It is hard. And I think it's important too for you to surround yourself with positive people, because it makes a difference. It does make a difference.
And just going off of surrounding yourself with positive people, I am not a big on lots of people. That's just my personality, and there are people that fall into that category that I just don't want to be around a lot of people. But it's more about pulling from what you need to pull from these people. So it's not like, hey, come over and have a drink and stay with me and this and that. No, when you meet somebody interesting, have a conversation with them. It's all about having that conversation and pulling knowledge. Just keep pulling knowledge. Listen out. Pay attention. Try it for yourself. But when you do try it for yourself, you're going to have to do it right.
Yeah.
Don't give it a half try. Give it your all.
No, it's true. And I always like to say, knowledge is power, and the reason why I say it is because the more that you know, the better off you will be in life.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I like to go by that motto.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
just
because to me, I think it's important.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily your education. I have my educational background is a 2-year associate's degree in education. I have an associate's degree in education, and I am not that at all. You know, I'm not an educator. I wanted to be an educator at one point. It's not there for me. So my knowledge comes from pulling from people. Yeah.
From what you've learned from other people that, you know,
Yes.
definitely. So I think that, you know, I want to thank you again so much for sharing your story, because it's amazing, and I think that a lot of women can actually relate